This is the first time where I've heard Asian people speak against white people in a way. Yeah, you need to go to the gym, Vishnu, whatever your name is. You got them little fat marks on your cheeks.
He will be identified as Black American, right? Because
if he does he want to identify as Black American, or does he want to be like this little Asian girl?
But
right
I
here?
don't think that kid should qualify for reparations because we are going to have enough money to support him.
What's going on, y'all? Grind to Motivate back in this thing again, man, with another video. And today we got a Vice video. It's called Asian Americans Debate Model Minority and Asian Hate. And we're going to talk about it with Angie because you can clearly see Asian. Let's go and get to it and see what they're talking about. Let's go.
Collection of different types of ethnicities, and there's a lot of Asian influence in Hawaii as well. A lot of different people who are there are from Korea, China, Japan, and so...
You think that joke is black?
Yeah, he looks cute.
He said he was Pacific Islander. He looks like a black dude. He looks Blasian to me.
He probably has some native blood in him. Like Native American, I guess.
I don't know. I think he black. Let's get it.
Well, I just consider them family as well.
Well, good to meet you. Tell me about yourself, Vince.
Genetically, I'm a quarter Italian, 75% Vietnamese, but I am really with Teddy Roosevelt on this one. I don't believe in the hyphenated American thing. I identify as American. I consider myself an American. Sure, genetically, I'm mostly Asian. I don't go around thinking I'm an Asian American because I think that...
How does this make you feel?
You don't think you're Asian American because you have that 15% of Italian blood in you that makes you feel like, oh, I'm not completely Asian. I'm probably better than some of the 100% Asians.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
So how do you feel? So how does it make you feel as an Asian person? Like, well, I'm an American first. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, sure, but like white American wouldn't see you as American first. They see you as Asian first.
Okay. So it's kind of essentially
like
the same thing as like when a black dude says that, like, yeah, we're all Americans. Stop the divide. Stop the divide. Yeah, they just arrested me for no reason last week, but stop the divide.
Yeah, because when we see each other, our facial feature, our body feature, physical feature is the most outstanding one. So it's like, even though we're trying to break the boundaries by saying, like, if you see someone with the Asian face, they may not necessarily be like Chinese, people still process it that way.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's definitely like a stereotype, but it's just, it's how this world is right now. So like, you can hide away from it, but it's what it is.
Yeah, he don't look like he got no type of white in him whatsoever. Let's get it.
Especially considering the fact that America today is increasingly a more and more diverse country, which is what it is. The only way that's going to hold together is if people can, to some extent, all identify as being part of the same nation, part of the same creed to an extent. And that's just the way I would view it.
Vish, you're up.
I'm 100% Hindu Indian American. I was born in...
Is he black?
No, he's Indian.
Oh, so when you see the good-looking guy, you think, oh,
No.
he's definitely black. When you see this ugly one, you're like, he's definitely not black. He's Indian.
I don't know. Indian people have like it's like weird. Like their skin will be dark, but then like they'll be like hating on black people. Like there was like this. There's actually a video.
His facial feature and his beard looks so black.
Man, he look like, I don't know. Yeah, Indian dudes is weird, but yeah. It's a video where like the Indian people were they were being racist towards like African people or something like that, and this lady was a new type of dark. She was like, it was a new type of black. It was like purple black or something like that. She was like, it looks disgusting or something like that. In her,
but we know whenever Grant sees like a good-looking guy that has a darker skin, he'll be like, definitely blacken him.
Nah, that guy looks black. His name is Michael too, I think. So yeah, he looked like a black dude.
He looks like a black dude too.
He does, but it's like he's Indian. You need to go to the gym.
That guy said he's a Pacific Islander.
Yeah, you need to go to the gym, Vishnu, whatever your name is. You got them little fat marks on your cheeks. You need to go to the gym, bro, before you start talking about all these politics and stuff. Get politicking in the gym. Let's go.
In Brooklyn, my parents are from India. I personally just describe myself as American. I find, like Vince said, the hyphenated American thing, I think it's by definition divisive when you're dividing the identity. I prefer to call myself American. I don't call myself Indian American, Asian American, though when people ask, like, oh, well, what are you? I'll say, well, I'm of Indian heritage, but I was born in Brooklyn.
Yes.
I partly identify as Asian American. I also, like my experience, my mom is from Japan. She immigrated to America. So I do truly feel that I am a part of the Asian American experience where, at home, it's a Japanese household. It's a Japanese culture, because I was predominantly also raised by my mom too. And then also we happen to live in America. And I think there is a very unique perspective in that. As well as I'm a proud Asian American, I'm a proud Black American too. I'm a proud biracial American.
She ain't no proud Black American because it took forever for her to get to the point of her being Black.
I do feel
well,
like...
you know, I was born in Japan, then my mom had here, then I came to America, so I'm like American, and then like Asian American, and then like, well, you know, like there's also the fact that African American.
You know why? Because if you were raised in an Asian country, it's more like, and especially she said her mom kind of runs the household.
Yeah.
I'm assuming her mom is Japanese.
Yeah.
It's more like you're given this Asian value or the Japanese culture and value and everything. So you grew up thinking, oh, I look kind of different from everyone else, but you are trying to kind of...
How would your mom run the household though? So do you think that she comes from a single mom household?
No, I'm just saying her mom's probably the one staying home more with her, teaching her how to do the homework and everything, you know.
So her dad is a weak Black man then, basically. That's
No,
what it
I'm
is.
saying that's
You
probably...
a weak little dude.
That's
right?
probably outside working because Japanese culture is still structured where it's like a lot of men will be outside working long hours, long extensive hours, and then women will be home taking care of the kids.
That's okay. That's real. But at the same time, the dad was on that. Well, you know, I don't look at myself as Black.
And
I look at
also,
myself as
when
American.
you were born, when you were raised, let's say, okay, so we watched the other show. Do you remember? It was also like a Malaysian kid raised in Beijing. She speaks fluent Chinese. She even has a Beijing accent.
Right.
When you are raised in that environment, you don't really think of yourself as being Black.
Yeah, that's
you have
understandable because her dad wasn't around, or her mom or somebody wasn't around anymore.
Okay.
So that makes more
saying,
sense.
like, if you don't have
they literally dropped you off to your grandparents and was like, yeah, and now you're over here, and your grandparents raised you up in the traditional Chinese way. But if you got a Black daddy still at the house and you got an Asian
She didn't
mom,
talk about her dad though.
yeah, she did it. So I'm trying to figure out, like, were you a single mom? Was like what would happen?
Yeah, but whatever it was, it just seems like she didn't really have a lot of Black influence growing up. So she identified more, or she just like blend in with the Asian culture.
All right, you took it home for me.
And then she came to the States and she realized, okay, this is a whole different dynamic here. And then she understand whatever she identified herself as, which is Asian. Yeah. People in the States probably think she's Black American. So it's like, you know, like.
All right, that makes a little more sense. You brought it home, man. You brought it home, man. Dad is still weak though. Let's go.
And I think there is definitely also a need for us to be able to say Asian American, especially because we are often seen as not American or not American enough. But then you go back to Asia and they're like, oh, you're so American. So it's just like, well, who am I?
Being between cultures in a way, or straddling cultures, being part of two cultures.
Yeah, being part of two cultures. I'm Asian.
It's so real.
I'm American. I'm Asian American.
Well, nice to meet you. Joyce.
So I'm a Taiwanese Asian American. I identify as Asian American, but at the same time, I think the term Asian American and Asian Pacific Islander, they have to be separated because when we go to colleges and apply to get in, we're on different socioeconomic pathways. So actually the term Asian Pacific Islander would actually get you in more than someone just does East Asia, because I believe now they separate the two.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, and I think that's what we'll try to do today. But it's good to meet you. I guess.
What do you think about that?
That's interesting.
I think.
I remember when I was in college, right? They always ask you like, "What's your ethnicity?"
Yeah.
I always see like Asian and Pacific Islanders. I'm always like, what's Pacific Islanders? I've never heard of this term before. It's really interesting. But I see the Asian part, so I just check it.
Yeah.
But it's I think
Pacific
it's a good
Islanders
point.
it's like Hawaiian.
That's it?
It's like Hawaii, New Zealand. I think you can be from I don't know, some people might be from Australia, but yeah. That's basically what it is, Hawaiian. So I guess like in the United States, if you're a Pacific Islander, they're probably thinking you're Hawaiian, therefore you're American. So that obviously they're gonna bring you in easier. So this lady's kind of like complaining about, oh yeah, the Americans get into schools more first. Like she's on that what's that thing called?
So she's suggesting that East Asian and Pacific Islanders should be separated because Asian people are taking advantage of the Pacific Islanders' priority and rights. She sounds like
I
a
don't
cook
know.
to me.
I don't know. I felt like she could be saying that, but I felt like that she was more so saying like the Pacific Islanders have it easier. They get affirmative actions or something like that. That might be what she's saying.
No, I think she's saying probably more from like a like a college entrance perspective. It's like because the Asian is really saturated, so Asian like East Asian are taking the spots of Pacific Islanders.
Okay.
So I think she's
East
definitely
Asian. Ain't she from Taiwan?
yeah, but she's definitely not for Asian people.
Yeah, she sounds like she's proud to be an American.
Yep.
Let's get it.
This is a funny question, but like, do you think the average American, when meeting you, would be like, "Oh yeah, you're Taiwanese"?
Yeah, they think I'm Chinese. Japanese or Korean, but basically I'm Asian. They always ask where am I from because of the way I look.
And they ask like, "Where are you really from?"
Yes. And I'm like, always, I'm American.
I get that a lot too. Ellen.
Hi, my name is Ellen. I'm Korean American. I came from Korea when I was 8 years old. Got on a plane by myself, not speaking a word of English. Didn't know white people were real. For me, it was, huge
You saw how he was looking like.
culture shock. My parents had already immigrated, so I was joining them. I like to be identifying myself as a Korean American woman, and I recognize the importance of Asian American Pacific Islander. Definitions are always constantly changing as we as society constantly evolving. I don't like to just consider myself American because when anybody in this country looks at me, they don't just see American, they always see Asian first. Instead of using that as a thing that holds me back, I say it proudly, and it's taken time to accept my identity, to really know that that's sort of an umbrella term to open the door into the conversation. I know it's not possible to encompass all of us because Asia's so big, right? But in order for us to be seen and heard, we have to start somewhere, so I think it's a good term for that.
Yeah.
I'm Ziad. I use he, him pronouns, and I am Bangladeshi American, and I'm Asian American. The reason why I was lukewarm about the term Asian American insofar as its usefulness is that I don't actually often refer to myself as Asian American, despite like fully believing that I am, because to Yulin's point, oftentimes I think people have a perception of what Asian American looks like, right? And sometimes that leaves out South Asians, sometimes that leaves out Central Asians, sometimes that leaves out huge parts of the world. Me personally, like I lean into my hyphenated identities, right? I am American, and I am Muslim, and I am Bangladeshi, and I am Asian, right? And I am all of these things at once, and I'm not one more than the other, right? I take pride.
I like this guy.
What do you guys think? Like, so why aren't there any Arabian people here? Aren't Arabian people Asian?
Where they're from? Saudi Arabia?
Like, isn't that like part of Asia? What's it?
I think if
Iraq
you're
and Iran?
from, yes, they're loosely Asian. But I think that's what he was saying, right? When you talk about Asian, people think more about like East Asian. When you have those like very identifying facial, what do you call it, features. So and especially like if you think about, I think like people from Iran or Iraq. Even for me, I would think they have a more like Caucasian feature.
You know what? They actually, I believe that they're on the census as white. For real.
Yeah.
I believe that they classify themselves as white, and I think that they're also on the census as white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because technically Russia would be in Asia too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But if I see someone that's Russian, I would never think that person is Asian.
Yeah.
They're Russian.
Some Russian jokers be looking like, they look like a white dude,
Yes,
like a different kind of white
what's
guy.
his name?
Who?
The boxer?
Oh, Bivol. But he's like, yeah, he's mixed with the actual Asian. So in Russia, is there like a history on like who was there first? Like who was the first people in Russia? Because it could have been it might have been some white folks. But who was there first? Like who's the indigenous people of Russia?
I have no idea, but I think there might be some mixture of the Mongolian people also. That's why they look kind of like the high bone cheeks.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with history, so don't test me on that.
Yeah, that's what a lot of white dudes look like. They got like high cheekbones, and like just like everything else is white though. You know what I mean?
Did I say bone cheeks or cheekbones?
You said bone cheeks. Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting now. Let's get it.
In all of these things, and I think that for me, I find power in that insofar as when I look at this country, I think it is so damaging, right, so saddening that sometimes this country makes us choose.
I mean, something what you point out is that we kind of all have a dual consciousness, or are dual citizens of this country and the world, which is to say we go home, we might have a different culture, a different food, a different language that we speak, we go to school. And we have friends who might not share or understand what that language culture is, and we have a desire to both be true to the heritage, but then also be accepted, successful, and otherwise in the non-Asian American world that we live in. Assimilation. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a burden? Is it an opportunity?
Assimilation, I think I would define that as, in part, I think necessary to an extent because we are forced to in order to navigate this country. So I would say learning the language, learning how to properly behave, for example. That's in part kind of assimilation, making sure that you are
in line.
kosher in this society. And I think in part that means survival.
I think assimilation is not just a great thing, it's a necessary thing. No society can hold together where people have nothing in common, they don't speak the same language, they don't practice the same things. And, you may look at something like just food habits or what you eat and think that's fairly frivolous, but the truth of the matter is that on a broader level, when we're talking about more big picture things, differences in race, culture, religion, all these things, people have fought wars, violent wars, killed each other over these things for thousands of years. If America is to hold together, assimilation, not just good or bad, necessary. I don't think it's going to be possible for America to survive as a stable, functioning society if people don't, to some degree, say, well, here's what we're going to commonly agree upon.
But who gets to choose it?
The majority culture, I suppose.
And what's majority culture?
The people with power.
And who's people with power?
People with power.
White people.
Well, I don't know if that's...
White people. It's okay.
I don't know if that's necessarily so true. I mean, wait, can you...
He said, my dad wouldn't like that, so stop. My dad.
So basically he's saying, in order to avoid all those violent history to recur again, we should just all give in to white supremacy and then let them lead us. Because why fight? Well, why? It's just better to be the same.
Yeah. This is the first time where I've heard Asian people speak against white people in a way. Most of the time I seem it feel like y'all be kind of like, oh, yeah, Jeff?
I think this is also new. I think the whole entire Black Lives Matter movement kind of makes Asian people reflect on our identity too, because I do feel like I've seen this change happen in my friend group as well. Even the Asian Americans I went to school with, back in college, they definitely, a lot of them want to draw a line between you're from China, you're Asian. Yeah. We were born here, we have US passport, we're Asian American. We're not the same. We hang out with all of our American friends. We don't speak Chinese, even though they actually understand it. They don't like to speak Chinese to us. But now they're more we want to embrace our roots. We want to go visit all these Asian countries because no matter what, it's part of us. It's in our blood. And I'm really amazed by this change.
That's interesting. It's like that's similar but different to Black Americans. We we don't look at ourselves as African, but we at the same time we don't give it a F about what these white folks think over here. We might speak the language and all that kind of stuff, but you see there's a clear it's a polar opposite of how we act, how they act, what we think is cool, what they think is cool, what we eat, what they eat, all this kind of thing, how we move, everything.
But let's say if you were a kid at school, right? I think you may be able to relate, because if you were a kid at school and then you saw this white kid bullying this or a bunch of white kids bullying African kids because they dress a certain way, their food smells a certain way, and it doesn't really match to the American culture, you probably, the first thought in your head is probably not stand out for them. It will be more oh, I'm different from them. I'm American. I don't wear those kind of food. I don't wear those kind of clothes. I don't eat food that has that smell. I'm different. You want to draw the line.
I don't think so. I think we wouldn't like you doing that. Even if you were an African dude or a Caribbean dude or something
kid,
we wouldn't like you doing that.
As a kid, you probably don't want to be isolated. I think that's why I've seen this
as a kid still too. As a kid, it may be a little less racial tension as a kid, but we still know, hey, bro, it's different. You're lame, you like skateboarding, and you're weird, and you care about this. I don't care about that, bro. But it's different. We may not be you were flat out KKK member or nothing like that, but we know you're white on black.
Let's throw race away, okay? Yeah. Just say you're at school and you see this bunch of kids being bullied because they whatever, they're in I guess bands, they like certain things, and other people don't see them as cool, so they're bullied. Yeah. Do you think most kids will be oh, let's be friends and be like anti-bulliers, or they're gonna be like draw the line, be like, we're not like them, we don't like the same thing, we're not friends.
We're not like that towards white people. With that, in that case, it would be something different. But if it was a white person bullying black people, we would all get together and be like, what the hell are you doing, goddamn Brad? What are you doing right now? And Brad would be the talk of the classroom, to the point where his mom would have to pull him out the classroom because he feels threatened.
I think that's the change we might be seeing within Asian community right now, because in the past, those ones that are like Asian Americans, I'm assuming they don't want to be categorized as the Asian people that white people are looking down on, or even black people are looking down on because we can't speak fluent English. But now they're more like, you know, like regardless, we're Asian, so like it's more like a racial thing instead of like you're Chinese and American, like a nationality thing.
Okay,
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
that's a long discussion.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I don't think a particularly white quote-unquote interest controls things like
in America
pop culture.
Do you believe white supremacy exists?
I think there are people who believe in it. I think there's people who all believe that their race is superior.
So you don't believe in white supremacy?
Do you believe America is a white supremacist state?
No, not at all.
And not found.
No white supremacist state would even like allow us to be doing this. Like I don't understand. So white supremacists, there's just KKK people walking.
This guy's an idiot. He's the same kind of guy who would be like, yeah, Jerry Jones, just because he was in that 1965 photo where he was enforcing segregation doesn't mean that he's racist, because look, he's got all these black players on his team, even though we're the best players and he needs us. He's got all these black players on his team, so he's not racist.
I think he's one of those very typical guy that would play by the rule, by the white people's rule, so he can get like promoted or he can get all those benefits.
He's a toot-up guy. He toots up.
Toots up?
Yeah, he toots up. That's a new thing I'm starting. Boy, me and Rob, man, we got that thing. Yeah, y'all tooting up, man. All y'all guys that's running around here trying to defend them folks that don't really care about you tooting up. He tooting up for the Asian people. He's tooting up for the white people and on behalf of the Asian people. Somebody that would toot up for black people would be somebody like Fresh and Fit. They toot up. Yeah, they toot up bad. Let's get it.
Actually, I go around New York City. I notice that, like, I guess Brooklyn a little bit different. Most of the people here are not white, and they're doing their thing. So I don't understand.
What does doing their thing mean to you?
Going to work.
Are they making the same amount of money? Are they getting the same access to opportunity?
I think they're getting great access to opportunity.
Please unpack it. Are they equivalent? Are communities and communities that are leading culture, to your point, because you pointed to popular culture as something where, in your view, white people don't have the power, when the reality is it is the white executives who are profiting off of it, exploiting predominantly black and brown bodies for their financial gain, to then parade to us and tell us that we're thriving, when the reality is it is women of color, and it is black folks, and it is Asian American folks, it is Hispanic folks, and it is people from marginalized communities who are disproportionately being impacted by every adverse thing that society is facing, while the few at the top who don't represent our communities, are profiting. There are massive disparities based on race, based on class, based on gender, based on all of these things that shouldn't exist.
Well, nobody denies that there's disparities.
Well, let's have Vince respond.
Or that, I think the question is, do they exist because of supposed white supremacy? And when I look at the fact that, you know, virtually every corporation institution bends the knee to diversity, celebrates every single Heritage Month, you know, has all these programs, every single one toed the line for Black Lives Matter. I don't look at that and say conservative white people are in power in this country. As a matter of fact, I'd argue to a large extent, you can talk about, you know, what race or whatever people are, but it's like...
It's a clear proof that this okay, I wouldn't say this world, this country is run by white people, because when a company celebrates like Heritage Month, it's always celebrating what, like Asian, Black. When would we see a month celebrating white people? Because the rest of the month we all are celebrating white people leading this country. It's like,
what do you think about? So there's basically like there's an argument against like black people getting reparations, because white people say, yeah, we were slaves too. So like, all right, so let's think about it. If you're the slave labor and all the things that were happening to your people are the reason that this country is where it is today, and the same people that were in power from back in the day are still in power now in this country, doesn't that make it more valid than like over there two white groups enslaved each other, and now those empires are gone and left off the face of the earth, and now they're just all over there just living regular. What do you think about the difference between those?
That's a long question.
So us as black people, black Americans, like like all the things they did wrong to us that set us back and everything.
Yeah.
Like the same people are still in power now. The same government structure is still in power now. Versus, so do you think that makes sense for us to ask for reparations?
I do feel like in terms of what happened to black people in America, black people should get reparations, but it's just like in terms of who exactly should be getting it. Like,
what do you mean by that?
So it's like, I just don't know how it's going to be decided. Like, if you are, say, like a full-blood African descendants versus if something got in the mix. Like, for example, if we have a kid, should our kid get reparations? Because it seems to me now she's
so
like,
they're saying they made so like that's why Tariq Nasheed made like the FBA rules and all. Like, he made like being FBA.
So he made the rules.
He didn't make the rules. It was them in like a task force. They got together and they made up rules. They said if you haven't identified yourself, or you and your family haven't identified yourself as Black American in the last 10 or 15 years, you're not part of that.
You see what's the flaw with that?
What?
Because right now, reparations nowhere to be found, right? But people are hearing this. So a lot of people, they can be actually a coon, but they would just be like, oh, I want the money. So I'm just like, what's the harm? I'm going to call myself FBA. I'm going to call myself Black American. But they're not really...
But you can just trace your roots back. Like, I know where my grandmother and grandfather
they're not
come from.
doing anything to actually help the group as a whole. They're just calling themselves Black American, and then they should get free money.
What do you mean?
I feel like
if you're an African guy and I'm a Black American, or you're a Caribbean guy, you don't get them.
So like a Jay on the street, if he's like, oh, I'm Black American, he can get the reparation money too.
That's interesting. Like I wonder, has he signed any papers that showed him on this as Black American? Or if he was able to trace his family roots back, then yeah. That's easy. So if you've been showing yourself as Black American for the last 15 years, if you can trace your family roots back, then yeah.
What if your family is mixed and mingled with like an African immigrant family, and then that family is pretty well off? Does that still qualify your descendants for the reparations? It's just like so many questions. I think that's the hard part. That's why. So I think FBA should be a difference between an FBA and an African person. Or even a Caribbean person. That should be a difference on the thing. Like that's why they made it. Asking me, right? If I can make the rule tomorrow, okay, this might sound silly to a lot of people, but I would say your family has to be like Black American that's brought over by all those white slave owners, right? And if you were raped by a white person and have a mixed baby, that's really unfortunate. So that baby should get reparations. But if that baby chose to date outside of his or her own race and had a baby and lived off that family's money, and your kids should not qualify for reparation money anymore.
I don't know, but you were still getting the societal put downs from all the white people that you're half breed, you're one drop rule.
Your whole point of like reparation is because those slave owners are still well off. And the black...
Not even just that. We're talking about Jim Crow, how they took away all the different land from different black people. They killed people. Lake Lanier is old black town. They flooded it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so they did that. Jim Crow, they wouldn't let you get a loan for a house, so you couldn't get ahead. You couldn't get job opportunities. You couldn't do this.
We have a kid. That kid will be identified as Black American, right? Because
if he does he want to identify as Black American, or does he want to be like this little Asian girl?
But I don't think that kid should qualify for reparations, because we are going to have enough money to support him, and it's like he's going to get good education. Okay. He's not going to be oppressed and lack of opportunity. I mean, like, racist definitely exists. Yeah. Right, but it's not because of the slave owners, whatever, that's causing this kid to be lacking opportunity. It's the racism nowadays. So I think it should be separated as two different subjects. I don't know. I feel like y'all folks. Oh, that's just my thoughts on it. That's all I got. I think because you can prevent one of the slave owners' descendants. Let's say it's a white girl. Now she's marrying a black guy, and they have a kid. That's a mixed kid. That's Black American. So potentially that slave owner's kid is getting reparations. It's just...
I think the census needs to be a little bit more detailed. Are you one of these black dudes that's like, yeah, I'm just an American, like Officer Tatum or Anthony Brian Logan, or, you know, you call yourself Black American? You know, are you an African? Are you Caribbean? Are you this? Are you that? I think that it should
Or they just need to identify all of those slaves, you know, back in the days, and then give each one of them a big sum of money. And if they have descendants, all the descendants can spread the money however they want it to be spread. I think that's how it's supposed to be done, like based on all those exact people that were.
It's the United States' fault. It's because they're trash, racist, and they don't want to. They didn't want to right their wrongs. So now things have gotten out of hand.